All right, so get this. We're diving deep today into AI that can understand what it sees on a screen.
Yeah, it's like teaching a computer to see the internet like we do.
It's a total game changer.
Definitely. And we're talking about OmniParser. It's this new AI model from Microsoft Research.
OmniParser.
Yeah, it's been making waves in the tech world.
So how is it a game changer?
Well, it's tackling a problem that's been a real roadblock for AI. You see, up until now, AI could see a screen,
Right.
but it couldn't really understand what the buttons or the icons or the menus actually meant.
So it's like showing a picture of a computer to someone who's never seen a computer before.
Exactly. They just see shapes and colors.
But they have no clue what it does.
Exactly, and that's the gap that OmniParser is bridging.
Okay, so it's like giving AI the ability to not just see, but to actually understand.
Yeah, to comprehend the visual language of our devices.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So how does it work?
Is it some super complicated algorithm?
Yeah.
It's actually a two-step process. The first step is called Interactable Region Detection.
Interactable Region Detection.
Yeah, imagine you're looking at a website.
Okay.
Your eyes are naturally drawn to the buttons, the links, things you can click on.
Right.
OmniParser does the same thing digitally. It scans the screen, and it highlights all the clickable areas.
So it's like using a digital highlighter to point out all the important parts.
I like it so it knows where to click.
Yes, but that's only half the battle, right?
Right. How does it know what those clickable areas actually do?
That's where the second step comes in, icon functionality description.
Icon functionality description.
OmniParser goes beyond just finding the buttons. It tries to understand their purpose.
Okay.
It's like you see a magnifying glass icon, means search.
Right.
OmniParser uses similar logic.
Yeah.
It's been trained on a huge data set of icons and their descriptions.
So it can label a play button as play.
Exactly, a shopping cart as add to cart and so on.
So it's like teaching a computer to read the visual language of our screens, but instead of letters and words.
It's buttons and icons.
That's a great way to put it.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
It is, and the applications for this are vast.
Yeah, like what?
Well, think about accessibility tools for people who are visually impaired.
Okay.
Imagine an AI that can describe what's on the screen, but in much richer detail than just reading out the text.
So users can navigate their devices more independently.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
It could really open up a whole new world for people.
Definitely. And it's not just for accessibility.
Right.
Like AI assistants.
Instead of just responding to basic voice commands, they could actually understand visual instructions.
Oh, so like click the button that looks like a gear?
Exactly. Or open the file with the blue icon.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would make interacting with my devices so much easier.
Great.
I wouldn't have to fumble around with menus and settings anymore.
Exactly.
I could just tell my AI what to do and it would understand.
And it would get it done.
I'm sold.
And it's not just about convenience.
Oh.
This could revolutionize software testing.
Okay,
Well, imagine developers could automate the process of checking if their interfaces work correctly on different devices and screen sizes.
that would save so much time and resources.
Exactly.
So we've got accessibility, we've got AI assistance, we've got software development. Are there any other areas where OmniParser could make a big impact?
Oh, absolutely. The potential is limitless.
I bet.
But before we get too carried away, dreaming up future scenarios,
Okay.
let's dive a little deeper into how OmniParser was actually trained.
All right, let's do it.
Remember those data sets I mentioned?
Yeah, you mentioned two data sets, one for identifying clickable areas and one for describing icons.
Right.
Can you walk me through those?
Sure. So the first one is all about teaching OmniParser to identify those interactive regions on a screen.
Okay.
Imagine taking thousands upon thousands of screenshots from websites and labeling every clickable area on each one and feeding all that data into the model.
Wow, so it's like teaching by example.
Exactly. And that's how OmniParser learned to recognize buttons, links, all those interactive elements.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It was quite an undertaking, but the results speak for themselves.
I bet. And what about the second data set, the one focused on icon descriptions?
So for that one, they collected a vast library of icons and paired them with their corresponding functions.
So it's like a visual dictionary for AI.
Yeah, where each icon is linked to its meaning, and that's how OmniParser learned to associate a shopping cart icon with add to cart or a magnifying glass with search.
Okay, so two specialized data sets. One to teach you where to click and one to teach it what those clicks mean.
Exactly.
Pretty clever.
Yeah.
But the real question is, how well does it actually work?
That's where things get really exciting. They put OmniParser to the test using GPT-4v.
GPT-4v.
Yeah, one of the most advanced vision language models out there.
Okay, spill the beans. Did it pass with flying colors?
It did more than just pass it aced the test. Yeah, on a series of benchmark tasks, GPT-4v paired with OmniParser actually outperformed other GPT-4v models that were given additional information like the website's code.
Wait, so even without looking at the code behind the website, OmniParser was able to help the AI understand the interface just as well, if not better.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
It is. And to make it even more impressive, they tested OmniParser against specialized Android models that were specifically designed for understanding Android interfaces.
Yeah.
And guess what? In some cases, OmniParser actually beat those specialized models.
Wow. So it's not just limited to websites. It can work across different platforms.
Jack!
That's a game changer for sure.
It is.
This feels like we're on the verge of a major shift in how AI interacts with the digital world.
You're spot on.
This is big.
And the best part is that we're just scratching the surface of what OmniParser can do.
Oh, I bet. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about some limitations.
Okay, good idea.
What kind of limitations are we looking at?
Well, one of the things the researchers pointed out is that while OmniParser is great at understanding visual elements, it's not designed to detect harmful content.
So ensuring its ethical use is crucial.
Absolutely. It's a powerful tool.
Right. And with any powerful tool, it's important to use it responsibly.
Exactly. What other limitations did they mention?
Yeah.
Well, another thing to keep in mind is that OmniParser, like any AI, is still learning.
Right.
There are times when it might misinterpret an icon or struggle with particularly complex layouts.
Sure.
It's not perfect, but it's a huge step in the right direction.
It sounds like it. Now, I'm really curious to see this OmniParser in action.
Yeah, me too.
You mentioned earlier that the researchers have put together some demos.
Mm-hmm.
Can we take a look at one?
Absolutely. Let's dive into a real-world example and see how OmniParser breaks down a website interface.
Let's do it. I'm ready to be amazed.
Okay, so picture this. We're looking at a screenshot of like an online store. You know, the kind with all the product photos and tempting descriptions and that little add to cart button?
Oh yeah, those websites are dangerous.
I know what you mean, but how does OmniParser make sense of all that visual stuff?
Yeah, it seems like a lot for an AI to process.
It is. Well, it starts by doing what it does best. Interactable region detection.
Okay, back to that.
Yeah, remember that's the first step. It scans the whole page and identifies every single thing you could click on.
So it's like creating a clickable map of the page.
Exactly, but how does it know the difference between clicking on a product image to see more details versus clicking the Add to Cart button?
Yeah, that's a good point. Those are both clickable.
Right, well, that's where those bounding boxes and IDs come in.
Okay, remind me about those again.
So OmniParser doesn't just highlight the areas you can click. It actually draws boxes around them. And gives each one a unique number. So it's like labeling each interactive element.
Okay, so it's organized, but how does that help the AI understand what those elements actually do?
That's where icon functionality description comes into play along with those boxes. And IDs, OmniParser generates a text description.
Oh, so it's like a little label.
Yeah, exactly. Like for the Add to Cart button, it might say add item to shopping cart or purchase this product.
Okay.
And for a product image, it could say view product details or enlarge image.
So it's not just highlighting, it's explaining.
Yeah, in a way that makes sense.
Okay, but I'm still a little fuzzy on how this actually helps an AI use a website.
Okay, let me give you a real-world example. Let's say you have an AI assistant and you tell it, add that blue sweater to my cart.
Okay.
Now, without OmniParser, that instruction would be totally meaningless to the AI.
Right, wouldn't know what a blue sweater even is.
Exactly, or where to find that add to cart button. It would just be a bunch of random words. But with OmniParser, the AI can look at all that info from the web page. It can find the add to cart element that's connected to a blue sweater image and know exactly what to do.
So it's like having a personal shopper in your computer.
Yeah, exactly. One who understands everything perfectly.
I like it. Okay, so that sounds amazing in theory.
Right.
But does it actually work in the real world?
Yeah, did they test it out? Oh, they definitely put it through its paces, and the results were really remarkable. They tested it on a variety of tasks, even some really complex ones with tons of similar icons or detailed actions, and even then, OmniParser was super effective.
So it's not just a cool idea, it actually delivers.
Yeah, exactly. But did they compare it to anything else?
Yeah, like how does it stack up against other approaches?
That's a great question. They did some interesting comparisons. Remember how I mentioned they tested GPT-4v with and without OmniParser? Well, they found that GPT-4v did way better when it had OmniParser helping it out, even compared to GPT-4v models that were given more info like the actual website code.
So even without peeking at the code, OmniParser gave the AI a better understanding.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It really shows the power of understanding things visually.
I'm impressed, but I'm sure it wasn't perfect, right?
Of course, no technology is perfect, and the researchers were very upfront about the areas where OmniParser still needs some work.
Like what kind of things?
Well, one thing they pointed out was the issue of repeated icons text.
Okay, so what happens when there are like multiple of the same icon? Does it get confused?
Sometimes, yeah, think about a settings menu. You might have a bunch of gear icons for different submenus.
Right.
And sometimes even with OmniParser's help, GPT-4V had trouble telling those similar icons apart and might click the wrong one.
Okay, so it needs to get better at those subtle differences.
Yeah. What else did they mention?
What other challenges?
Another one was what they called coarse detection of bounding boxes. Sometimes the boxes OmniParser drew were a bit too big.
So like instead of perfectly outlining a tiny checkbox,
Yeah.
it might draw a box that's too big and covers extra stuff around it.
Exactly. And if the AI is trying to be really precise, like clicking on a tiny button, that could cause it to miss.
Yeah, that makes sense. So there's definitely room for improvement.
Definitely. But even with those challenges, it seems like the benefits outweigh the limitations.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, OmniParser is a huge step forward in how AI interacts with the digital world. And as the tech evolves, I'm sure those limitations will become less and less of a problem.
That's what's so exciting about all of this. We're seeing a whole new era of computing where AI is becoming so much more intuitive, more human-like in how it understands and uses our digital tools.
It really is a remarkable time to be following these developments.
It is to give us an even better sense of just how groundbreaking OmniParser is.
Yeah.
Let's look at a specific demo that the researchers shared.
Okay, so they wanted to showcase how OmniParser tackles a real problem on a website.
Okay, what kind of website are we talking about? So what kind of website did they use for the demo? I was picturing something super complex like a stock trading platform or maybe some crazy 3D modeling software.
You know, they actually kept it pretty simple and relatable. They chose an online store, like when you're browsing for clothes or electronics or even groceries online.
Yeah, I can picture. I do a lot of online shopping myself, so I'm familiar with the layout. But how does OmniParser even approach something like that?
Well, it starts by analyzing the visual hierarchy of the page. It's kind of like how our eyes scan a web page. We naturally look at the headings, the images, the buttons. OmniParser does the same thing digitally. It breaks the page down into those key elements, and it understands how they all relate to each other.
It's not just seeing a bunch of random stuff. It's actually understanding the layout of the page.
Exactly. And then it takes it a step further. It analyzes the specific elements within each section. So, like, it might identify the product images, the price tags, the add to cart button, the customer reviews, basically anything that's visually distinct and important for someone to interact with.
Okay, so it's creating like a detailed map of all the visual components in the page.
Yeah.
But how does it go from just identifying those elements to actually understanding what they do and how they all work together?
Right. Well, that's where those bounding boxes and descriptions come in. Remember, OmniParser doesn't just highlight the elements, it actually draws boxes around them and gives each one a unique ID. And then along with those boxes, it generates a text description that explains what each element is and what it does.
So like if it sees a product image, it might label it as product image or item photo. And for the add to cart button, it would say something like add item to shopping cart or purchase this item.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really cool. So imagine you're using an AI assistant and you say, find me a pair of black running shoes in size 10. The AI can look at all the information that OmniParser provided, scan through the product images and descriptions, and boom, it finds exactly what you're looking for.
So it's like OmniParser is giving the AI a personal shopping assistant that understands exactly what you want.
Exactly, and that's just one example. They also showed how OmniParser could help an AI navigate a news website, filtering articles by topic or date, or even filling out a simple form on a contact page.
Okay, now I'm really seeing the potential here. It's not just about clicking buttons, it's about giving AI a much deeper understanding of how websites work and how to interact with them in a way that feels natural to us.
That's a great way to put it. OmniParser is a big step towards bridging the gap between how humans and AI interact with the digital world. It's opening up so many possibilities for how we can use AI to make our lives easier, more efficient, and more enjoyable.
This whole deep dive has been mind-blowing. OmniParser really feels like a game changer, and I can't wait to see how it evolves and what amazing applications people come up with.
I totally agree. And as always, we want to hear from you, our listeners. What do you think about OmniParser? What are some potential applications that excite you? Leave us a comment and let us know.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of AI that can see Parser, don't forget to like this episode and subscribe to our channel for more explorations of cutting-edge technology.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.